Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. Time travel exists but is hidden. Season 2, Part 1, The Butterfly Reversal. Opening, a gentle flap. They say a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and a tornado rips through Texas. We've all heard the phrase. The butterfly effect, the idea that tiny actions in the past can cause massive changes in the future. But what if someone is flapping wings on purpose? What if these little nudges in time aren't accidents, but deliberate interventions? And here's a bigger question. What if our present reality, right here, right now, isn't natural at all, but the product of hundreds, maybe thousands of butterfly reversals? Argument: patterns too precise. History is messy, chaotic, illogical. Wars start from accidents. Revolutions rise from whispers. Stock markets crash over rumors. But in recent decades, patterns have begun to emerge. Look closely and you'll notice catastrophes narrowly avoided at the last minute. Technologies appear just in time to prevent collapse. Global events balance out like someone's correcting a cosmic spreadsheet. Is this all luck, or is something or someone managing causality? Evidence: the 3 forgotten events. Let's talk about 3 real-world examples. They don't make sense unless time has been tampered with. 1. The 2004 anti-tsunami satellite. That didn't exist. 3 weeks before the Indian Ocean tsunami killed over 200,000 people, a classified satellite system called Deep Wave was supposedly in final testing, designed to detect deep-sea tectonic activity. But after the tsunami, all references to Deep Wave were scrubbed. No tech journals, no defense records, gone. Some whistleblowers claim the satellite did detect the quake, and officials chose not to intervene to avoid altering a fixed event. A calculated butterfly, not flapped. 2. The July 17 coincidences across 5 different years. Major timeline-shaping events occurred on July 17. MH17 shot down in 2014. Amazon's market pivot in 1995. World Emoji Day. Yes, even that's suspicious. Conspiracy forums have flagged July 17 as a reset node. What if this date isn't coincidental, but used for temporal calibration? 3. The JFK time traveler rumor. Recently unsealed CIA memos mention a man arrested in Dallas on Nov 21, 1963, claiming he had vital information to stop a catastrophic assassination. Photo and records vanished. This was 1 day before JFK was shot. Was this a botched butterfly reversal? Science. Intentional chaos theory. Butterfly effect stems from chaos theory, the idea that dynamic systems like weather or history are sensitive to initial conditions. But here's what physics doesn't fully admit. Entropy, the disorder of a system, can be reversed in isolated quantum environments. It's been demonstrated in quantum simulations like the IBM 20019 experiment, where electrons momentarily ran backward in time. Now imagine if someone had mastered this reversal not in a lab, but on a global scale. Using small calculated nudges, micro-time adjustments that cascade into major global changes, like pulling a single thread in the past and watching empires unravel in the present. Closing, the bigger question. So we ask again, is our history organic or a heavily edited, reverse-engineered version of what should have happened? If someone is flapping butterflies to change the future, then who decides which future we get? Who watches the timeline? And here's the most chilling thought. What if the reality you remember was never meant to exist? Part 2, the timeline. Custodian's opening. Who keeps time clean? Let's rewind a little. In Part 1, we asked, what if time isn't a natural stream, but a system being constantly nudged? Butterflies flapped not by chaos, but by design. Events unfolding not by accident, but by intention. But if someone's out there managing timelines, tweaking history like a piano tuner tightens strings, then who are they? More importantly, why haven't we heard of them? Are they scientists? Government agents? Something else? Let's dive deep. What we're about to explore may change the way you see every moment of your life. Argument: too much coincidence to be coincidence. Have you ever wondered why humanity has just barely avoided extinction over and over again? The Cuban Missile Crisis didn't go nuclear. Y2K didn't crash the world. AI hasn't turned on us yet. We flirt with the edge of destruction over and over, and somehow we always pull back at the last second. That's not a coincidence. That's intervention. It's as if there's a quiet group of unseen operators, custodians, whose job is to keep our timeline stable. They don't stop every disaster, just the ones that would create unacceptable branches. But who gave them that power? Who told them which timeline was acceptable? And what makes them think they know what's best for us? Evidence. Leaks, whispers, and glitches. Let's look at what's leaked out, the glimpses into this shadowy system that controls time. 1. Project Oracle, the government's prophecy engine. Declassified in part by the Freedom of Information Act, Project Oracle was a 1980s DARPA initiative to simulate global events decades in advance using supercomputers. But sources say it wasn't just simulation. The system was reportedly fed temporal feedback, data collected from sources outside the linear present. Former contractor Mason Talbot, pseudonym, claimed on a podcast in 2017, "We weren't forecasting, we were correcting. Events were happening wrong and we had to bend them back." He disappeared 3 months later. Number 2, the Mandela effect, evidence of memory realignment. Millions of people remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. They remember Berenstain Bears, not Berenstain. They recall a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad, a movie that never existed, brushed off as faulty memory. But what if these are remnants of previous timelines? Versions of reality that were altered and overwritten, and we, the people who remember, are just collateral damage from temporal pruning? 3. The CERN shutdown of 2012. In 2012, CERN briefly halted operations due to a mysterious cooling system failure. Some theorists claim this wasn't a malfunction, it was a containment. A containment of what, exactly? According to one internal memo, leaked to Reddit, later deleted, an experiment had created an unwanted time loop, a recursive bubble that reset events every 37 seconds until it was manually collapsed. Glitch in the simulation? Or was someone cleaning up a timeline branch that got out of control? Science, temporal maintenance and quantum decoherence. Let's make something clear. Science doesn't officially recognize time custodians, but the theory allows for them. Here's how. In quantum decoherence, every decision splits reality into branches. Most physicists accept this as the basis for the many worlds interpretation, that all possible outcomes happen in parallel timelines. But what if some branches aren't allowed to survive? Physicists like Hugh Everett hinted at this in the 1950s, but were silenced. A more recent paper from MIT's Temporal Entanglement Group proposed that quantum observers can collapse distant branches by entangling them retroactively. In simpler terms, you can delete a timeline. If that's true, then maybe someone or something is using this tech right now to collapse realities, to clean up history, to make sure we never find the wrong door. Closing. And what if they fail? Let's entertain a dangerous idea. What if the custodians aren't in control anymore? What if they're losing their grip on time? Maybe that's why we're seeing more glitches, more Mandela effects, more déjà vu, more people feeling like something is off. What if the timeline is fraying? What if the custodians, whoever or whatever they are gone, dead, or worse, compromised? And here's the question that should keep you up tonight. If the people fixing time are gone, who's fixing us now? Next time, Part 3, Chrono War. The Battle for 1943. In the next episode, we'll uncover a secret war fought in time itself, with a famous Navy experiment as the smoking gun. Part 3, Chrono War, the Battle for 1943 opening. What if the war never really ended? Imagine this. It's 1943. The world is at war. Guns, tanks, planes, death on a global scale. Nations fight across continents, oceans, skies. But what if that wasn't the only war being fought? What if another war, a hidden war, was unfolding beneath the battlefield? A war not for land, not for resources, but for control of time itself? A war waged by unseen powers, governments, secret factions, even forces beyond our understanding, all fighting for the right to shape the timeline. And the first shot, it was fired in Philadelphia. Argument, the experiment that shouldn't have worked. You've probably heard whispers of the Philadelphia experiment. They say in October 1943, the U.S. Navy conducted a test on the USS Eldridge, a test meant to make the ship invisible to radar. But according to multiple eyewitnesses, it didn't just disappear from radar, it disappeared from reality. Gone for several seconds, maybe even minutes. And when it came back, crew members were fused into the metal. Some were burned. Others reportedly vanished from existence weeks later. One man, Alfred Bielek, later claimed that he and others were thrown through time. The Navy, of course, denied it all. They said the experiment never happened. They blamed urban legends and confused sailors. But ask yourself, why were all records of the Eldridge's movement sealed until 1990? Why did multiple crewmen disappear with no formal investigations ever opened? And most importantly, what exactly did they unleash in 1943? Evidence, testimonies, leaks, and disappearances. Let's break down what we actually know and what's been buried. 1. Alfred Bielek's confession, 1989. Alfred Bielek gave a series of interviews where he described being part of the experiment and ending up in the year 2137. He claimed he was part of a timeline correction project sent by military authorities to monitor the future and return. Wild? Yes. But he named facilities, gave dates, described technologies that hadn't been invented, yet have since emerged. Coincidence? Or memory leakage from a timeline we're not supposed to know about? 2. Disappearing witnesses. In the 1950s, several surviving sailors from the Eldridge were allegedly scheduled to testify at a secret military hearing. Only one made it to the courthouse. The others? One died in a car crash 2 days before. Another vanished in a hotel in New Jersey, luggage still in the room. A third suffered a mental breakdown and couldn't speak coherently again. No official connections were made. No documents released. Just silence. 3. Declassified memos point to temporal testing. A 1964 memo uncovered in the CIA's Stargate archives refers to unexpected spatial and chronometric disturbances associated with naval invisibility research. The memo is redacted, almost entirely blacked out, but one phrase is visible. Under no circumstances should timelines breach continuity thresholds again. Incident code redacted caused uncontrollable feedback. Science. Temporal displacement and magnetic fields. Okay, let's separate the Hollywood from the plausible. Could a ship actually vanish in 1943? Could a man be sent forward in time? Let's talk physics. Unified field theory, something Einstein was working on during this period, attempts to link electromagnetism and gravity. If achieved, this could allow manipulation of space-time itself. The Eldridge was said to be wrapped in a series of high-frequency magnetic coils designed to distort electromagnetic fields. Now combine that with quantum entanglement, localized gravitational warping, temporal decoherence under intense magnetic load. Suddenly, the impossible doesn't seem so crazy. In fact, several modern physicists, like Dr. Jack Sarfati, have argued that temporal displacements are possible under extreme electromagnetic conditions. Sarfati even claimed he received a call from the future as a child, instructing him to study theoretical physics. Sounds like a B-movie script? Then why has Sarfati published peer-reviewed work on closed time-like curves, the foundation for time loops? So what was the Chrono War? The Philadelphia experiment wasn't just a test, it was an opening salvo. Insiders believe the moment that ship blinked out of 1943, other factions noticed. Parallel timelines, future powers, even non-human intelligences. All of them watching, waiting. And when the US tried to tinker with time, they responded. Some claim a cold temporal war began then, a quiet arms race fought not with bullets but with timeline edits. One insider from the Montauk project later said, "We didn't fight for land, we fought for control of when things happened, and sometimes for what never happened at all." Let that sink in. Closing. What else happened in 1943? Let's play a little game. Go look up what major scientific or military events occurred in 1943. Start connecting the dots. Why did Nikola Tesla's files vanish after his death, also in early 1943? Why did the Nazis ramp up their occult division that same year? Why were multiple disappearances linked to Montauk, New York in the months that followed? What if this wasn't isolated? What if 1943 is a temporal fault line, a crack in history where reality is thinnest? And most importantly, what if someone or something is trying to stop us from ever going back there again? Next time, Part 4, the Montauk Chair, Programming the Future. We'll uncover the dark secrets of the Montauk Project: mind control, time loops, psychic manipulation, and the mysterious chair that could project you into the future. Ready to sit down? Part 4, the Clockmaker's Paradox. Opening, tinkering with time. Imagine this. You're walking through an old antique shop in Prague. Dust dances in the late afternoon sun. In the far corner, you spot a bizarre device, a brass box covered in spinning gears and tiny levers. A handwritten label reads, "Property of the clockmaker, do not reset." A myth, they say, an old folk tale. But who was the clockmaker? And why are so many physicists and time conspiracy theorists terrified of his paradox? A clock that fixes the past. Over the last 3 episodes, we've explored butterfly reversals, temporal custodians, and the warnings of ancient anomalies. But now it's time to go deeper into the mind of the clockmaker himself. Who is he? Some say he was a 19th century German engineer who stumbled upon a mathematical model that predicted future world events with alarming accuracy. Others say he was a post-World War II quantum physicist involved in the Nazi time experiments at Wewelsburg Castle. And a more radical theory? That he's not a he at all, but a machine sent back from the far future to preserve a master timeline. Who or what the clockmaker was remains a mystery. But his paradox? That's the part that terrifies even today's best minds. The paradox explained. The clockmaker's paradox is simple and yet utterly destabilizing. Here's the core idea. Every time you fix something in the past, you break something else you didn't know existed. Let's say someone time travels to stop a pandemic in 2021. They succeed. Millions are saved. But suddenly, by removing that tragedy, a virologist never discovers a breakthrough treatment. A government never reforms its healthcare system. A future leader never loses a parent and never runs for office. The world is better, but it's no longer real. It's a counterfeit timeline, full of manufactured outcomes and borrowed fate. That's the paradox. Can you ever fix time without destroying the truth? Real-world patterns. Are we experiencing the paradox? Let's look at real-world glitches that might be symptoms of the clockmaker's paradox in action. 1. The uncanny lives files. Over 400 people worldwide, mostly between 1990 and 2010, have publicly reported eerily similar life paths. Same birth dates, same obscure childhood illnesses, near-identical career decisions. Some even claim they had the same dreams. A 2022 study by a behavioral psychologist at Cornell dubbed this uncanny lives syndrome and theorized these individuals are residual echoes from overwritten timelines. Is this mass delusion, or is it what happens when one too many clocks are reset? 2. Cultural artifacts with no origin. A rare children's book titled The Hourglass Boys, printed in the 1950s, suddenly appeared in private collections in 2017 with no publishing records, author, or provenance. What's creepy? The book describes a group of kids who travel through time using tiny brass watches, trying to keep history in balance. Sound familiar? The book wasn't found in any catalog before 2017. Could it be a bleed-through from an altered past? 3. The Missing City Project. A 1979 U.S. infrastructure proposal details a city called New Edison, planned near Nevada. It was designed, funded, even mapped, but never existed. Yet, some engineers claim to remember working on it. A few even have schematics on old microfilm. No records exist in any modern archive. None. What does it mean when the past leaves behind ghost footprints? Scientific context, chaos, entropy, and feedback loops. Modern science has begun to circle the clockmaker's ideas without realizing it. Here's how. Entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, says systems trend toward disorder. But in quantum computing, entropy can be reversed locally, like rewinding the tip of a finger, but not the hand. Feedback loops in AI models already create paradoxes, where an output becomes its own input and truth becomes self-referencing noise. Time loop calculations, simulated at MIT in 2024, produced a disturbing result. No matter how optimal the loop, correction produces divergence. Even in controlled simulations, small corrections to historical data cause untraceable shifts in future states. So what happens when humans do it? The implication: manufactured history. Here's where it gets disturbing. What if our most cherished turning points were engineered? Our biggest failures were allowed to happen because something worse was prevented? Our memories are the leftovers of multiple broken timelines? The clockmaker paradox tells us that truth and stability are opposites. You can't have both. So ask yourself, would you rather live in a perfect lie or a broken truth? Closing. Which timeline are we in? So many questions remain. How many times has someone gone back and changed something? Who decides what's worth correcting? Are we stuck in a loop trying to fix the future by butchering the past? And the scariest question of all, what if the clockmaker didn't disappear? but simply realized the paradox is unsolvable. What if he left us this broken watch and walked away? Part 5, the Dead End Time Travelers opening. Where did they go? Let me ask you something. If you had a machine, a real one, that could send you through time, wouldn't someone have used it to save JFK, to warn about 9/11, to stop Hiroshima? And if they tried, where are they? Because here's the eerie truth no one wants to talk about. Some time travelers never come back. They vanish, not just from the present, but from history itself. Who were they? In the 1970s, the CIA ran a classified subproject called Operation Hourglass, buried within MK Ultra files. Its mission: track anomalous disappearances of individuals involved in advanced time theoretical fields. One document, declassified just enough to spark suspicion, lists 11 names. 11 people, all brilliant, all obsessed with time, all gone without a trace. Let's talk about a few of them. 1. Dr. Evelyn Hart. The watchmaker's daughter, Evelyn Hart, was a theoretical physicist at Stanford, specializing in causal loop theory. She was nicknamed the watchmaker's daughter because of her intricate hand-built clockwork models of space-time equations. In 1981, she told a colleague, "I'm going to test something. If I don't return, don't look for me. I'll be home before I leave." She walked into her lab. Security footage glitched, literally skipped 3 frames. When the image came back, she was gone. No signs of forced entry, no exit, no body, only a melted brass gear on her desk, ticking. 2. Major Thomas Ridge, the soldier in the rift. Ridge worked with the U.S. Air Force on theoretical faster-than-light weapons. Rumors suggest he was part of the Dark Horizon Project, a supposed test site for temporal jump experimentation in Nevada, mid-90s. The official story? He died in a helicopter crash in 1996. But the black box recording tells a different tale. His last words, before the audio distorts: "Something's wrong with the sky. It's repeating." His body was never recovered. And here's the kicker. Radar showed 2 helicopters that day. One landed, one didn't exist. 3. Layla Monroe, the girl who remembered too much. Layla was a 14-year-old in Portland who began describing loops of time, recounting vivid memories of conversations that hadn't happened yet. Teachers thought she was psychotic, until she accurately predicted the school principal's death, including the time and exact cause, 3 days before it happened. One night, she told her foster parents, "I'm not supposed to be here this long." Then she walked outside during a lightning storm and disappeared in a flash of light. Witnesses claim the air hummed for 3 minutes afterward. Local weather data recorded a drop in barometric pressure resembling atmospheric vacuum, impossible by any known storm metric, the pattern no one sees. These stories are bizarre on their own, but together they reveal a terrifying trend. Time travel might be real, but it doesn't always let you come home, which raises a massive question. Where do these travelers go? And more importantly, what's stopping them from coming back? Theories from the underground across internet forums, declassified drops, and whispers from insider physicists, 3 major theories dominate the time travel disappearances. 1. Temporal displacement entanglement, TDE, a fancy term for something simple and horrifying. Once you leave your native timeline, your atoms become incompatible with your return. Think of it like taking a USB plug from the year 2030 and trying to jam it into a port from 1920. It just doesn't fit. Some physicists suggest that time isn't just when you are, it's what you are. Your biology, your memory, even your soul might be quantum bound to a specific now. Break that bond, and you're locked out forever. 2. Timeline Auto-Correction Protocol, TAP. This one's darker. It suggests the universe actively prevents timeline contamination. If you enter a time you don't belong to, the timeline deletes you like an immune system attacking a virus. Not with death, not with pain, but with erasure, like you never existed. Some believers think this explains Mandela effects, those eerie false memories so many people share. They're not wrong. They're just remembering a version of reality that no longer exists because someone tried to change it. 3. Black zones. The creepiest theory that certain points in spacetime are traps, temporal dead ends, moments or places that look stable but are actually fractures in the fabric of time. Step up into one and you fall out of the known multiverse. Some say that's where the clockmaker vanished. Some say those zones are designed by timekeepers to catch reckless travelers. And some whisper that entire civilizations might have disappeared simply by walking through the wrong door at the wrong time. Scientific support? This is the part that gets uncomfortable, because modern physics is starting to catch up with the folklore. Quantum decoherence already proves that particles lose alignment when pulled from their original systems. Closed time-like curves, studied by Kip Thorne and others, allow for paths through spacetime that loop, but warn of unpredictable stability breakdowns beyond certain curvature thresholds. In 2024, CERN detected a loss of data packets in its ATLAS system right before an anomalous electromagnetic burst, an event that has yet to be explained. One anonymous insider said, "We didn't lose the signal. We lost the second that created it. It was there, and then it wasn't." Let that sink in. A second. Gone. As if it had never happened. The existential question. So maybe it's not just dangerous to travel through time, maybe it's a one-way ticket. And the moment you jump, you trade your existence for a chance to witness something no one else can. But what if you don't like what you see? Worse, what if you land in a place where you're the only thing that doesn't belong? Closing. Are they still watching? We'll never know for sure what happened to Evelyn Hart or Major Ridge or Layla Monroe. But every now and then, people report seeing figures in old photographs that don't match the fashion or faces of the time. Some people have dreams about places they've never been and swear the details are too precise to be imagined. And once in a while, someone shows up with no past, no birth certificate, no record, no history, only strange knowledge, and eyes that seem tired, like they've seen too many tomorrows. So I'll leave you with this. If you could time travel, but couldn't come back, would you still do it? Would you give up everything you are to know everything you shouldn't? And if you did, would we even remember you were gone? Next time, part 6, the forbidden coordinates, a mysterious location that keeps showing up in time experiments, and the one place every traveler is warned never to enter. Part 6, the forbidden coordinates opening. A place you're not supposed to find. You ever type something into Google Maps and get a result you didn't expect? Something with no name, no photos, just coordinates. Now imagine this. You plug those numbers into your GPS and the route starts loading, but your phone screen flickers. Satellite signal drops, and when it comes back, it says, "Route recalculated, destination no longer exists." Creepy, right? But what if I told you there are real coordinates like that? Ones the government has quietly erased from public maps. Ones time travelers are warned never to enter. Today we're going to explore one of them. And trust me, this is a place the future is trying to forget. The coordinates 47.1049 N, 121.8262 degrees W. Go ahead, type it into a map. It'll pull up a forested region near Mount Rainier in Washington state. Nothing special at first glance, but dig deeper, and things get weird fast. Locals call the area the Echo Site. Hikers report bizarre compass behavior. Military-grade drones mysteriously fail when flying overhead, and more than a few explorers have vanished, never to be seen again. But the strangest part, the same exact coordinates appear in 3 different time travel documents from 3 different decades. 3 files, 1 location. 1. Project Perseus, 1963, a declassified memo from a covert DARPA project studying gravitational warping listed those coordinates as a high-risk junction node, temporally unstable. No personnel to enter without clearance from Temporal Oversight Division. Yes, you heard that right. Temporal Oversight Division in 1963, which supposedly didn't exist. That memo was stamped Black Zone Alpha 9, the same code from Part 5 where we discussed time traps. 2. The Dutchman Notebook, 1987. A physicist named Anton Rika, nicknamed the Dutchman, worked on closed time-like curve simulations in Switzerland. He disappeared in 1987. All that remained was a notebook, mostly equations, except for one chilling sentence. Don't go to 47.1049-121.8262. The gate opens, but it doesn't close. His last page, a drawing of a clock. No hands, just an eye in the center. 3. Q-Pulse Archive Leak 2021. A short audio clip leaked from a whistleblower known only as Q-Pulse mentions a field test of a micro-time dilation chamber. The test subject walked into the field and didn't return. The timestamp April 14th, 2021. Location, you guessed it, 47.1049 degrees N, 121.8262 degrees Ws. What happens there? Now let's get into the first-hand accounts, the ones that never make headlines. 1. The backward sound. Multiple hikers across decades have reported hearing a strange sound near the area, like a whisper played in reverse. Some describe it as voices. Others say it's mechanical, a grinding inward, like time itself twisting. One man said it wasn't just noise, it was memory. I started remembering things that hadn't happened yet. People I hadn't met, a child that wasn't born, my own death, all of it wrong but familiar. He left the forest shaking and never returned. 2. The vanishing frame. A wildlife photographer set up a motion-triggered trail camera in 2019 to capture elk near the coordinates. Out of hundreds of images, one stood out, a photo showing a clear view of the forest. The next, completely black. The third, the entire landscape had changed. Trees bent at impossible angles, shadows where light should be. When analyzed, that second black image didn't register as darkness. It had no data, as if that exact second in time never happened. 3. The old man with the wristwatch. In 1994, a woman named Margaret Hayden reported seeing an elderly man emerge from the tree line near the echo site. He looked confused, lost. He kept checking a silver wristwatch, not digital, but unusually complex, like it had multiple faces and dials. When she asked him if he needed help, he replied, "I overshot the return window. This isn't my year." Then he smiled, said, "Don't remember me," and walked back into the forest. She never saw him again. 2 years later, her son found the same wristwatch buried in the garden, still ticking. Science's strange silence. You'd think a location like this would attract physicists, geologists, anyone with a brain and curiosity, right? Right? Wrong. Every major research institution that tries to study the area, pulled out, funding slashed, data wiped. One anonymous professor from MIT claimed, "We ran temporal resonance mapping on the zone. The results were mathematically impossible, like it was reflecting not just space, but possibility. We were told to stop." When asked by who, he just said they didn't say, but they knew things we hadn't published. Satellite blind spot. Here's where things get even more suspicious. Commercial satellites avoid the coordinates entirely. Zoom in on Google Earth and you'll see it blurs. Not pixelated, not censored, just smoothed over. Artificially normal. But an amateur radio technician in Idaho discovered something wild. Using long-wave pulse decoding, he intercepted repeating microwave signals coming from the area, bouncing off upper atmosphere. When decrypted, the pattern translated to "do not enter, do not repeat, do not return." It cycled every 14 minutes, then stopped on July 12, 2022, after 41 years of transmission. So what is it? No one knows for sure, but here are the 3 most credible and chilling possibilities. 1. A natural time fracture, a point where space-time folds unnaturally, like a crease in paper. These may occur due to gravitational stress, cosmic radiation, or ancient celestial collisions. But if that's true, why did someone mark it on multiple black-budget documents across 60 years? 2. An artificial gateway. What if the echo site was created? By who? We don't know. Some say Tesla theorized about fixed-time nodes on Earth, spots that could open if you knew the frequency. Others believe ancient civilizations built atop these zones. The real Atlantis? A timeline, not a city. But most terrifying, what if we built it and forgot? 3. A multiversal leak. This theory suggests the site isn't a place, but a puncture, a point where our reality thins and overlaps with others. Step in too far and you don't fall through time. You fall out of this universe entirely. Closing, the gate that watches back. The echo site is more than a mystery. It's a warning. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the coordinates keep appearing. Not because we're supposed to go there, but because someone did, and they're trying to tell us it's still open. So the next time you're scrolling through maps and you see a place with no name, no photos, and a whole lot of silence, ask yourself, is it hidden? Or is it hiding something? And more importantly, what happens if it finds you first? Next time, Part 7, Chrono Syndrome, time travelers who come back but not entirely whole, memory loss, distortion, and the terrifying mental side effects of manipulating time. Part 7, the temporal refugees opening. What if they're still alive, just not now? Imagine you're hiking deep in the Rockies. Suddenly, everything goes quiet. No birds, no breeze, not even your own footsteps. You blink, and you're somewhere else. Different light, different air, different gravity. You don't know if it's the past, the future, or something outside of time altogether. But one thing becomes clear: you can't get back. Tonight, we explore the chilling theory of temporal refugees, people who've slipped, been thrown, or perhaps taken out of their rightful timeline and forced to survive in others. Argument: the displaced of time. We've heard about missing people. We've explored time distortions. But what if not all those lost are dead? What if some are alive, conscious, and trapped in another era? Temporal refugees are theorized to be individuals who have accidentally crossed into a time fold, been deliberately ejected for disruption or observation, or even willingly stepped out but couldn't return. What makes this terrifying? They might still be trying to reach out, and we might be ignoring their signals. Evidence echoes from the other side. Let's look at 3 real-world anomalies that suggest temporal displacement. 1. The man from Taured, a now famous case. In 1954, a man arrives at Tokyo Airport with a passport from a country called Taured. Customs is baffled. Taured doesn't exist. He insists it does. Even shows a map where it should be, right where Andorra is. He's detained in a guarded hotel room overnight. By morning, he's gone. No trace, room locked from the inside, all documentation vanished. Some theorists now suggest he was a refugee from a parallel timeline, one where Taured was real, and by accidentally crossing over, he disrupted timeline integrity and was pulled back or relocated elsewhere. 2. The sound tapes of Lop Nur. In 2005, a Chinese research team exploring the Lop Nur Desert, often called the Bermuda Triangle of Asia, picked up a strange radio signal on analog frequency 4.73 megahertz. The voice was speaking in a dialect not used for over 1,200 years. Linguists confirmed early Tang Dynasty Mandarin. But the audio had modern modulation patterns, almost as if someone from the past was using tech they shouldn't have. The man's voice repeated one phrase: "I am lost in the sky's mirror. The suns have changed." Could this have been a time-displaced individual transmitting a distress call through a warped temporal frequency? There were 3, the returnee from 2063. In 1997, a man named Andrew Carlson was reportedly arrested by the SEC after turning $800 into $350 million in 2 weeks via impossible stock choices. When questioned, he claimed he was a time traveler from 2063. He disappeared from a high-security cell before his second interrogation. No signs of forced entry, no evidence he ever existed, except leaked documents and an internal FBI memo. Hoax, or a refugee who wasn't supposed to come back and got corrected? Science. Time is a landscape, not a line. Most of us think of time as a straight line: past, present, future. But in theoretical physics, especially under loop quantum gravity and brain cosmology, time may be more like a terrain: folded, layered, interconnected. Think of bubble wrap, each bubble a different version of time. Now imagine one of those bubbles popping, spilling someone into a different pocket. In 2013, a team at CERN published speculative models showing how closed time-like curves might allow information, or even matter, to loop without paradox. In short, if space-time folds just right, you could walk across timelines like stepping over tree roots. The danger? If the fold closes behind you, you're stuck. The theory of chronogravity. There's a newer hypothesis in fringe science circles: chronogravity, the idea that time has mass-like behavior. Strong chronogravitational fields, like around black holes or high electromagnetic areas, e.g., deep caves, high-altitude zones, nuclear accident sites, might pull people into different time pockets. Some believe the disappearances near Mount Shasta, the Dyatlov Pass incident, and even parts of Yellowstone exhibit temporal instability zones where chronogravity fluctuates. Those who fall in? Refugees. Clues from the displaced? Could they be trying to contact us? Reports exist of voices coming through dead analog radios, strange messages left on old cassette tapes sealed in time capsules, emails with no headers or origin IP, sometimes containing references to events that haven't happened yet. In 2020, a YouTube channel received a 9-second audio message that simply said, "I am in year 2179. Help us. We are fragments of memory." Experts confirmed the vocal pattern could be from someone born in the early 2000s, a hoax, or a distress call from a temporal exile. Closing. Could you be one of them? Here's a disturbing question. What if you are already a temporal refugee? Think about it. Ever have memories that no one else shares? Remember a product, a place, a person differently? Experience deja vu so intense it felt like a warning? Maybe you slipped into a timeline just close enough to feel familiar. Maybe you're one of millions displaced, living in a version of reality that isn't your own. And maybe the ones who pulled you in are watching, waiting. Next time, Part 8. Chrono Guards and the Secret Timeline Police. Who enforces the laws of time and what happens when you break them? Part 8. Chrono Guards and the Secret Timeline. Police opening. What if there are rules to time and you've already broken them? Let me ask you something. Have you ever made a decision that felt too easy, like something or someone nudged you? Or maybe you almost said something, but something told you not to. A whisper, a twinge of pressure, a presence. What if that wasn't just intuition? What if there are watchers, enforcers of the timeline, whose job is to keep us from breaking reality? Tonight, we expose one of the most controversial theories in temporal conspiracies. There's a secret organization that polices time, and they've already intervened in your life without your permission. Argument: the timeline must be protected. Every system has laws, even time. If people can travel through time, forward or backward, then rules must exist to keep causality intact. Otherwise, everything collapses. Events contradict. Paradoxes multiply. The future unravels before it's written. That's where the chrono guards come in. They're not from our government. They don't work for any nation state. They work for the continuity of time itself. And if you've stepped too close to a temporal fault line, they've already marked you. Theory. Who are the chrono guards? The chrono guards, sometimes called time wardens, watchers, or the silent loop, are described as nonlinear beings who can move across time like we walk across rooms, or highly trained human agents enhanced with future tech, or even AI intelligences created to maintain the core timeline architecture. Whichever version you believe, the core purpose remains the same: prevent anyone or anything from disrupting the prime timeline. Some say they operate out of dimensional folds, only accessible through deep gravitational anomalies. Others believe they live between moments, in the microseconds between seconds. And if they show up, you don't know it until it's too late. Evidence: the erased, the reset, and the silenced. Let's examine 3 disturbing cases where the timeline police may have intervened. 1. The erased scientist. In 1991, Dr. Kieran Lowe, a theoretical physicist at the University of Sussex, claimed he discovered a formula for localized temporal distortion. He published a short draft in a closed physics journal, then disappeared. No police report, no missing persons search. Here's the twist. Within 48 hours, all online copies of his draft were wiped. Libraries received updated volumes without his entry. Even his colleagues forgot he ever existed. Only one backup from a student's floppy disk survived. Guess what the last line of his formula was? Caution, not to be shared. Observation already in progress. Was he silenced or removed by those who protect the flow? 2. The reset dreamer. A woman in Oregon claimed in 2017 that she had recurring dreams of a man in a gray suit with no face. Every night, the man would say, "You were never supposed to remember this life." She began writing down the dreams, uploading them to a blog. Soon after, all her posts were replaced with gibberish. She was found a week later, unconscious, muttering a phrase in Latin, tempus custodit, tu dormias. Translation: time watches. You sleep now. Doctors diagnosed her with acute retrograde amnesia, but no trauma, no medical cause. Could this be the work of a memory reset protocol, administered by enforcers? 3. The silenced time traveler. In 2004, a man named Marcellus Kings uploaded 3 videos claiming he was a chrononaut from 2284. His details were bizarrely specific. A global event called the Sky Dimming in 2031, a machine called the Fractal Bridge built in Iceland, a civilian rebellion against the temporal overseers in 2190. All 3 videos went viral. Within 72 hours, the account was deleted, his IP scrubbed, and even mirrors removed from backups. The strangest part? 2 years later, Iceland began construction on a quantum entanglement facility in the exact coordinates he described. Coincidence or timeline enforcement? Science, quantum decoherence, and timeline stability. In quantum mechanics, the idea of decoherence explains why time moves forward, how particles collapse into a stable state once observed. But what if someone or something prevents that collapse? What if the timeline is like a quantum waveform, and the chronoguards are tasked with enforcing one version over infinite possibilities? Think of time like a movie with alternate endings. If someone sees the wrong ending, the whole theater might panic. Chronoguards keep everyone watching the correct film. They collapse branches, they neutralize anomalies, and they remove those who threaten continuity. What do the chronoguards actually do? Based on compiled witness accounts, leaked logs, and redacted government memos, here are the core functions of these timeline enforcers. 1. Containment. If a timeline drifts too far, it's isolated or deleted. Sometimes entire regions are wiped in what's called a localized time reset, LTR. Could this explain mass memory lapses after large events? 2. Intervention chronoguards appear subtly, posing as doctors, therapists, or even strangers, to guide someone away from a dangerous temporal action. You might think it was a coincidence, but it wasn't. 3. Correction. If someone crosses timelines or leaks information from another era, the guard will issue a correction: memory wipes, vanishings, or neutralization. The Mandela effect? Some believe it's just chronoguards retroactively correcting the narrative. Are you being watched? Some signs suggest you've come into contact with the timeline enforcers. Dreams about beings without faces, sudden memories that vanish upon waking, random strangers who warn you then disappear. Digital glitches around moments of emotional intensity, unexplainable déjà vu followed by intense fatigue. They don't leave marks, they leave doubt, and they prefer it that way. Closing. What if you're not supposed to know this? What if even listening to this is enough to flag you? The moment you begin to see patterns, the system sees you, and then it sends in the cleaners. So tonight, check your dreams, watch for the flicker in the mirror, and if you feel like someone's following you, they probably are, but not in space, in time. Next time, Part 9, the loops that keep repeating, the trapped timelines. What if some people, maybe even you, are living the same life again and again and again? Part 9, the loops that keep repeating, the trapped timelines opening. Have you lived this before? Let me ask you something. Have you ever known what was about to happen, not because you guessed, but because somehow you remembered it? Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you'd already lived that moment? Not just déjà vu, something deeper. A feeling like time is folded, like you're on a ride that keeps looping. Same conversations, same choices, same regrets. What if that's because you are? Tonight, we dive into one of the darkest secrets of the hidden timeline conspiracy. That time loops aren't science fiction, they're happening right now, and some people are trapped inside them. Argument. Time isn't a straight line. For centuries, we've been taught to see time as linear, past, present, future. But in reality, time may be a series of loops, folds, and recursions. And here's the most disturbing theory of all. Some events are meant to repeat again and again because someone or something trapped them in a loop. Not for punishment, not for curiosity, but for control. These trapped timelines aren't natural. They're engineered by the same forces we uncovered in Part 8. The chronoguards, the time overseers, or whatever hides behind the veil of causality. Theory. What are looped timelines? A looped timeline is a closed temporal circuit, a reality that keeps restarting at a certain point, usually after a temporal breach, paradox, or deliberate reset. But here's the thing. The people inside the loop? Most of them don't know. They go about their lives unaware that everything they experience has already happened. Dozens, hundreds, even thousands of times. Why would anyone create such a loop? 3 disturbing possibilities: to contain a dangerous anomaly, to study human behavior in isolated time, to erase a timeline that shouldn't exist without destroying it completely. Case files, evidence of looped realities. Let's examine 3 baffling phenomena that may be signs of looped timelines in action. 1. The 923 anomaly. Across dozens of forums, people from unrelated regions reported the same bizarre experience. Every year around September 23rd, they experienced time slips, repeated dreams, and bizarre glitches. One user wrote, "Every year on 9/23, I wake up knowing I've been here before. Like it's not just another fall, it's the same fall." Another claimed they received a phone call from their dead father every 9/23 at 2:16 a.m. Is this just coincidence? Or a looped pocket in the timeline triggered by a past event we were never told about? 2. The Malaysian flight loop theory. Some believe the mysterious disappearance of MH370 isn't just a tragedy, it's a temporal event. According to a declassified whistleblower report, satellite imaging from the days following the disappearance showed cloud patterns repeating exactly every 4 hours, as if the weather itself was stuck. Later, amateur radio operators picked up identical distress signals transmitting in 8-hour intervals for 6 consecutive days, even though the plane was gone. Was the flight caught in a loop? Did someone trap that moment to prevent something from leaking into our timeline? 3. The children who remember past loops. In recent years, thousands of children have begun describing past lives, not just with historical accuracy, but with internal timeline awareness. One 6-year-old in Finland told a psychologist, "This time I didn't touch the red door, so the bad thing didn't happen." Another in Argentina said, "You always take me here first. We always go to the red house next, but I don't want to go again. We've done it 8 times." This isn't reincarnation. It's not imagination. It's memory leakage from previous loops. Scientific basis, the echoes of quantum time. In quantum theory, there's a concept known as a closed time-like curve, CTC, a path through space-time that loops back to its own starting point. Physicists like Kurt Gödel, Kip Thorne, and David Deutsch have all explored the mathematics of time loops. And while controversial, the equations suggest, under certain conditions, especially around massive gravitational fields or manipulated space, time can fold back on itself. So if we have the tech to manipulate gravity, black holes, or quantum states, what's stopping us or someone else from creating loops on purpose? And what if our memory, our experience of time, is just a side effect of where we are inside that loop? Some scientists argue that déjà vu is a biological detection mechanism, a glitch in the brain when you momentarily sync with your past self in the same loop. Chilling, right? How would you know you're in a loop? Here are possible signs that your life may be trapped in a repeating temporal structure. Recurring dreams that play like TV reruns, not symbolic, but literal déjà vu followed by feelings of dread or vertigo. A moment of missing time, then sudden familiarity. Objects in your home being slightly moved without explanation. Seeing the same person twice in the same location in the same day with no memory of you. People finishing your sentence with too much accuracy. But the most haunting sign? The feeling that no matter what you do, nothing changes. Who controls these loops? Some say it's the chronoguards, as revealed in Part 8. Others believe it's AI overlords from the far future running simulations. But a darker theory persists that we created the loops ourselves, in the future, as a way to trap painful timelines, then forget we ever made them. In this view, looped timelines are like memory prisons, places to lock away events, people, even entire realities that no longer serve the master timeline. But the cost? The people inside still feel, still live, still suffer, over and over. Escaping the loop, is it possible? Some researchers claim that escape is possible through a process called temporal awakening, a moment of clarity where the brain becomes nonlinear, able to see the pattern, break expectation, and trigger a fracture. What does it look like? Interrupting key routines, experiencing time dilation in meditation or lucid dreams, direct confrontation with anomalies, e.g., glitches, memories out of sync, or in extreme cases, physical displacement through electromagnetic resonance. Yes, that's real science. But there's a catch. If you try to leave the loop pushes back, and someone or something always tries to stop you. Closing. What if this is the loop? Let me ask you again. Have you heard this episode before? Are you sure? What if this is the third time you've listened to this very moment and something stopped you from remembering every time? What if every gut feeling, every strange coincidence, every glitch in your day is a sign that you're caught and the loop is already restarting? Next time, Part 10, the final lock, breaking the temporal prison. What if there's a way out of the looped system, a method hidden in plain sight, buried in code, vibration, or forgotten physics? But those who find the door often don't return. Part 10, the end of time as we know it. If time is an illusion, who's pulling the strings? Let's ask a question no one dares to ask. What if time isn't real? Not metaphorically, not philosophically. I mean literally. What if time, as you understand it, doesn't exist at all? We've spent the past 9 episodes exploring hidden timelines, temporal custodians, Mandela glitches, and time hackers. But now we're standing at the edge of something deeper, more terrifying. Not about when we are, but whether we're anywhere in time at all. The illusion of time. Einstein once said, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." That wasn't poetry. That was physics. In Einstein's view, specifically in his theory of relativity, time is not linear. It's not something that moves. It's a dimension like width or height. And just like those, all points in time technically exist simultaneously. Let that sink in. Your birth, your death, the moment you're listening to this, all happening right now. But if everything is happening at once, what does it even mean to travel through time? And who or what defines the direction? Let's bring in some serious science. Block universe theory. According to this idea, the past, present, and future all exist in a single unchanging four-dimensional block. We don't move through it. Our consciousness simply experiences it like flipping through a photo album. That would mean time travel isn't breaking laws of physics. It's just viewing another page. Entropy and the arrow of time. The only reason we feel time moves forward is because entropy increases. More disorder equals more future. But what if entropy is also part of the illusion? Some physicists argue that under certain quantum conditions, entropy can decrease. In other words, time could run backward. So here's the terrifying question. Are we already living in a reversed timeline and just don't know it? Let's talk about you. Why does your mind remember the past, but not the future? Is memory just data we access, or is it a sign of your position in the timeline? Some radical neuroscientists and physicists propose this. Consciousness isn't in time. Time is in consciousness. If that's true, then we've been looking in the wrong direction all along. Time travel wouldn't require a machine. It would require a shift in awareness. Think about déjà vu, precognition, dreams that come true. What if these aren't glitches, but glimpses across the temporal veil? What if certain minds under stress, trauma, or altered states can actually see through time? There are thousands of documented cases of this. Pilots seeing future disasters, children predicting deaths, remote viewers in CIA experiments describing future events with accuracy too high for chance. And maybe, just maybe, someone has figured out how to control it. Vanish. Let's revisit something strange. Why do certain future technologies just vanish? Cold fusion in the 80s? Gone. Tesla's wireless energy grid? Buried. Nikola's time displacement notes? Seized by the US government. Project Pegasus? Discredited. DARPA's chronovisor? Never acknowledged again. It's as if something or someone is curating the timeline. A force that decides which futures are allowed, which are erased, and who remembers what. Call them the editors. Not gods, not aliens, not AI, but entities, maybe even human, who understand time so well that they've made it their domain. So now let's stretch our minds further. If time is just a construct, something to be edited, paused, or deleted, then what are we? Are we truly conscious individuals, or are we simply data packets temporarily running inside a looping simulation? What if time is the playback mode? What if the universe is a video file and someone, somewhere, just pressed pause? And maybe that déjà vu you felt today wasn't imagination. It was a glitch, a skipped frame, a memory not of the past, but of another iteration of you. So now we arrive here, at the edge, looking out into a future that may not be a future at all. What if time doesn't end because it never began? What if your whole life is just one frame in a movie that's already finished? Or worse, what if time really did end? And this, right now, is just the after image. Let that question settle into your mind tonight. If time is an illusion, who's pulling the strings? And more importantly, are they watching us? Rewind. Thank you all for listening and sharing your thoughts. Much appreciated.